What does it mean to truly be free? This is a very personal question. I ask it because many answers to such a question hold similar merits. For example, the idea that one can express themselves however they want, think however they want or whatever they want, speak however they like or whatever they like, pursue whatever or however they like, and being fulfilled doing so are shared ideas in many people's definition of being free. For example, if you want to be a teacher, you can be a teacher. If you want to speak your piece, you want to speak in a certain language, you can do that. If you want to be someone who believes that certain things are right, certain things are wrong, and that a certain dress looks better than a certain other dress, or that a certain shirt looks better than a certain shirt, or that a drink tastes better than another drink, you can do that. If you want to, say, express yourself as in wearing a skirt, even as a guy, if you want to maybe do your hair a certain way, grow it long or cut it short, you can do that. To make such things true, I personally believe that a wide encompassing concept should have more specifics. Specifically, how to truly achieve this while still knowing these things to be true. This goes into the fact that said doing these things should be done by yourself for yourself without really doing so at others' expense. Others should be able to do the same thing as well. Others should be able to express themselves however they want, think whatever they want, speak however they like, and pursue whatever they want to pursue. You expressing your liberties shouldn't come at the cost of others' ability to do so as well. Again, you can control the life you live for yourself, but you can control the life you live for yourself and yourself only. You can control your life only. Not like how some tend to judge how others live their lives while expecting no one to judge them back. If you want to get political with this, if I'm being completely honest, it might as well do so eventually, since this is inherently political, because how politics tends to be a discussion of how life is organized in society. This is a topic that discusses how people organize their lives in society. And things like abortion, identifying as part of the LGBTQ plus community, having certain hairstyles, eating certain foods, practicing or abstaining from any gender roles you wish, and other examples are key parts of what it means to live freely. Be able to choose whatever you want to do is what makes you and I different. You and I can differ in how we practice either of these parts of our life, but it remains that you have complete control over your life and how you live it, and I have complete control over my life and how I live it. Again, you have control over your life, and I have control over my life. For this to be applied, we need to look at something else that needs to be changed. Social conditioning. We all see it, we have gone through it, we all already embody it, and it is basically inevitable. As unfortunate as that is true. We live in a modern world, meaning we're used to information being at our fingertips, our phones, our computers, hell, even the computer that I'm using right now. Yep, I can do that. I can search up whatever I want to search up right now. Whether we use that for good or bad, we have that capability. Politically, democracy is implanted into our minds this great and superior system that can only be undermined by letting the structures it permits to be corrupt. If you want to get political again, look at the modern United States. Things are not going all that great right now politically. The utter absurdity that is happening in politics in the country right now, including across the world, you can say that democracy has kind of failed in those parts. But things like our culture, our religion, our parents, our relatives, schools, even country conditions us to think certain ways beyond democracy. And democracy is not really the only example. It's one of many examples. Those who were born in, say, the monarchist past, say in medieval Europe, probably believed monarchy was the only way to rule, which is why people like Jean Pierre or some other kind of some Enlightenment thinkers had to come up and decide for themselves that monarchy wasn't the great way to rule, because people were so used and so conditioned by the fact that monarchy is the only way that we've ruled, to the point where they think it's the only way anything can be ruled at all. For example, those from traditionalist families may tend to think that a child should believe in certain absolutes. For example, one's elders are right even if they aren't. School is indeed all that, and you should try your absolute hardest, and you should prioritize it over making friends. You should prioritize it over having passions. Prioritize it over any other part of your life, including athletics. Men do certain things, women do certain things else. And I myself, right there, just displayed conditioning. I was conditioned by my online experience that traditionalism is this bad thing whose merits are viewed from a blurry and misled lens. So therefore, those examples I use can be painted in a bad light. Again, the fact is that I've seen tradition work out against people. I've seen tradition be this objectively bad thing that I can argue against. And the fact that I believe it's objectively a bad thing, proof that I'm also somewhat conditioned. So conditioning goes for us all. Conditioning comes to us in the form of restricting ourselves because of the beliefs instilled in us by parents or role models, meaning we can never be truly, truly free. I'd argue that being free is being truly aware of what beliefs we as individuals have been conditioned to have by whomever we've been around, and circumventing them in our thoughts, truthfully and open-mindedly. Religion in itself can be argued as a system that inherently goes against the idea of being free. And tradition, as I've said before, can be in the form of implanted beliefs and ideas that stop us from reaching a closer definition to that being truly free. I mean, I painted these things in a negative light just because of my conditioning, but I hope to give it to you in a way that goes past just how I've been conditioned and rather what can objectively be said about religion and tradition that is negative for anyone trying to reach true freedom. Religion is used as a crowd control tool, by rules before as a way of cementing power. And this is especially because humans tend to want to find an explanation to many things. Like how the earth came to be, how the universe came to be, how we humans came to be, how animals came to be, how plants came to be, how what makes animals, humans, and plants truly different. What makes each plant unique? Who made all this if there's really a creator? Because it couldn't have been a spontaneous formation, this universe that we've been in that seems too beautiful to have been done so. What made good and evil? How did good and evil come to exist? Why does the world look the way it does? That's how religion came to be, as an answer to all these questions. And especially, this is why misinformation exists. Misinformation gives an answer, even though it's not always correct. It's still an answer for many. Specifically, the idea that there is some higher being or higher beings setting in stone what is right and what is wrong. And the part about the higher being or beings depends on what religion you have. Is it monotheistic or polytheistic? Monotheistic is one god, polytheistic is multiple. Let's face what we know in the form of most texts being written by humans in handwritten form and language that is then passed down to generations. Let's face them. Things like the Bible, Torah, Quran, Shruti or Smriti, those last two are Hindu books, quote-unquote books, are all meant to pass down cherry-picked values. As in, we know the people who wrote them. We know that the people who wrote them wanted us to believe these things as true and wanted us to be spiritual via whatever was written in these books. And not only that, but to objectively pass down answers to questions that we all have. What is right and what is wrong? Society doesn't follow all these rules. Thank goodness for that, let's be honest. But gender hierarchies, what one can and cannot do, what you can eat at one time, dietary restrictions, or the values considered objectively worth striving for are the inspiration for many parts of the law across the world. For example, the United States pledge being the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, it being in itself having God included in there, as an arbiter of objective good and moral truth. If I'm sounding very anti-religion, that's because I kind of am. Tradition includes religion and what is made of these beliefs or writings, what is where norms, clothing choice, stereotypes, perceptions of certain groups of people, and perception of behaviors come into existence. I've seen a lot of those myself personally, heard a lot of those myself personally. I really dislike them, and I kind of dislike the whole premise of religion. The idea that some being you can't even prove the existence of somehow created everything and therefore it has a right in time of day to tell you or think of you as someone who has to follow their rules of what's good and bad. That to me just sounds weird, especially since if there's such a supreme being, they wouldn't care about the menial things. A truly significant, truly wide-spanning net of superior existence that is considered God would not care what someone did on a Sunday. A man and woman, beside biology, should be considered equal, as the differences between man and woman are just because of sexual dimorphism, which is defined as a state of males and females in a species exhibiting differences in characteristics. Again, it is all physical characteristics, it is all biological characteristics, nothing to do with one's personality, or if you want to go there, soul. Because men and women, to me, are inherently the same. And man and woman can share the exact same characteristics, but just express them differently. However, attitudes surrounding the witness born to these differences are what made many traditions very patriarchal. Witness born to the difference between man and woman. Because men and women have certain differences, it would then build to tie them back to ideas that suppress one's right to be free. Whether a man cannot show emotion or a woman had to be this tender individual. And the fact is, being taken advantage of and being lied to are almost the same thing in how well they pair together. Being told the path you want to take in life is a bad idea. And if you have any immigrant parents like I do, you'll know. You will know. The kind that want a doctor, engineer, or lawyer and dismiss any other passion, dismiss any other career choice, including that of art, if you're someone who's into art. That dressing a certain way makes you a certain kind of person. For example, having a loose fitted outfit supposedly makes you a promiscuous or zesty individual. And this applies to both my ladies and gentlemen. Are the two examples I can personally think of in terms of what is essentially another obstacle in the pursuit of freedom. Because this predisposed sentiment upon you is being placed. These predisposed things are lies. These predisposed things were made up so that you couldn't be a certain person. Because the people who made these stereotypes or predisposed sentiments did not really want you to embody them since they themselves didn't like it. History itself is a good example. Women being forced to hold domestic roles, being politically subservient and laid back, minorities being discriminated against and even killed off or barred from certain positions or freedoms, genocides, famines, authoritarian dictatorships, and social hierarchy are all examples of restrictions on freedom placed on you from birth and in the very beginning. Revolutionary France, as in pre-Napoleonic France, making advances in female rights. Sorry about that. Jim Crow laws being an uphill battle, but somewhat won as of now for Black Americans in the United States. Ukrainians and peasants being oppressed and starved in Stalin's USSR, and the fact that there is a literal war between Russia and Ukraine today. Apartheid making it so colored individuals couldn't access the same education or job as white individuals in South Africa, to the point where there's a literal type of passport that those that weren't white had to have, making it clear that they were not white. And the feudal system of medieval Europe were the pinnacle of opposing one's enlightenment to what being truly free meant. In terms of the feudal system, you couldn't move on. If you were born a peasant, you had to remain a peasant. If you were born as nobility, you couldn't go down from nobility. It was predetermined, especially since in medieval Europe, emperors were considered destined by God, kings being destined by God, queens being destined by God almost. Back to being truly free, one would have to circumvent themselves with conditioning, religion, and tradition. But what else? Again, the idea that one should control only their own life. Not really circumventing that, but rather accepting that that's the truth. Things like a man being against abortion, even though abortion affects women and primarily women. A crowd protesting the presence of either a gay person or a trans man or woman in a show because they supposedly aren't real people or those aren't natural to be. One deciding that women need to be subservient to men or even the other way around are all examples of people trying so hard to control others' lives to suit their own views, despite not being the people affected by these sentiments themselves. It's inevitable in a world with a population that isn't one person that you'll eventually have to meet these challenges, specifically to the position you set yourself in life, the values you hold, and the fact that you'll eventually have to confront values that you so vehemently oppose that if you ever had to hold them, it would become your 13th reason. However, everybody being free and achieving a state of true fulfillment as to one's right in life, land in the pursuit of happiness, best hope you knew where I got that one from, takes into the fact that people can do whatever they want with themselves and themselves only, and that it's honestly just objectively wrong and a certain kind of evil to deprive someone of their liberties in what is their one and only life. I'm not promoting uncivility, I'm not promoting violence, I'm not promoting death, taking other people's lives. Again, that's why I say you should control your life and your life only. Being truly free is being able to express yourself. Speak for yourself, believe in yourself, believe whatever you want, speak however you want, pursue whatever you want, find out whatever you want, be entertained or entertain others however you like, identify as whoever you want, and be free without being a cost to others' rights to do so, and that of society's right to do so as a whole. One shouldn't have to bend to norms, traditions, or others' expectations. They shouldn't even have to bend to the historical precedent set on these things just because that precedent exists. Especially since it's Pride Month, and I'm not really making this video just because it's Pride Month, but rather because Pride Month is about the fact that people should be able to choose who they want to be for themselves. People should be free to choose however they want to present themselves. People should be free in how they and who they choose to be. People should have a right to choose who they want to be no matter what, and no matter what you think. Especially if you are gay, trans, bisexual, or even asexual, or hell, even aromantic. Whatever is in the LGBTQ plus system, whatever that is, people identify themselves as such, considering that's what they want to do. It identifies with them, they found that it aligns with themselves as a person, and that it works best for them, and that's how they want to be. One shouldn't really stop themselves from being that just because others will disapprove of that. It's not right. It's not quote-unquote natural. We humans already do so many unnatural things, yet of extension to that, just to make sure people have the right to choose who they want to be for themselves, that to me does not sit right. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this Yap session. I'll see you later.